And our first guest tonight is political scientist Julianna Łoboda from the Temporary Council of the Belarusian Democratic Forces Forum. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you for joining us. Now, I would like to start with the turnout because, like Sasha just said, in October's parliamentary elections, there was a turnout of 70%. Then in the first round in April, we had over 40%. And then on Sunday, we had 30%. So where's this decreasing tendency coming from? And is it natural that people take parliamentary elections more seriously than local ones?
I think that the parliamentary elections were kind of historic for as far as amount of people going. And I think people felt that it's a really important moment. And somehow people who voted for then opposition, now the government parties, felt that they've done their job, that they won and they don't have to go for the elections anymore. We as non-governmental organizations are thinking about it and thinking about why people didn't go. What we are thinking about is that mostly young people didn't go to vote. And it might be connected with the fact that a lot of young people don't live in their towns and cities. They moved, for example, to study. And it's a bit complicated for them to go and vote in the places that they're living now.
Right, but how to explain this pattern which we can observe for many years now, that the eastern provinces are generally voting for a law and justice while the west is rather pro-liberal?
I was thinking about it, and I think it might be connected with traditional values and faith being a strong factor according to the moral issues and connected with politics. I think it's also important to remember that Law and Justice Party was strongly supported by the public media, which were the main source of information for people from small towns and the countryside. And also during Law and Justice, being the government, they started some social programs which helped the people from smaller towns and less wealthy families. That might be why they still choose Law and Justice Party.
Mm-hmm. Now, also, many say that these elections are going to influence the upcoming EU parliament elections. Do you think that is true? And if yes or no, why?
I think they might, and I think it's a big sign for parties that are getting ready for the elections. And they can see how many people support them and maybe who should they work on who should they address. I think it might be a sign for the Civic Coalition that their program has to reflect the needs from people from smaller towns and villages. When we think for example, about people who protested against the Green New Deal, I think that the Civic Coalition, if they want to have a better result during the European elections, they have to work on for people from smaller towns and villages.
Right. So it was more than 51% for Law and Justice this year. Now, is it also sort of a wake-up call for the ruling coalition, especially for Prime Minister Donald Tusk, that this initial wave of enthusiasm that wiped off the Law and Justice Party during the last parliamentary elections is finally over?
Yes, some of the results might be a surprise for the Civil Coalition. I will start maybe with a story from my region, from Gdynia, where Wojciech Szczurek didn't get into the second round. And then in the second round, we had a candidate from Civil Platform, Tadeusz Przemiot, and a non-partisan candidate, Aleksandra Kosiorek. And Kosiorek got 62% of votes, which showed that people from Gdynia didn't want a person from a Civil Platform to govern Gdynia. And I think we have a lot of people who are just tired of these parties who are fighting with each other. And we also had a lot of candidates who are actually non-partisan, who won the election in their towns.
But do you think it is helping Civic Platform, and now we have Civic Coalition, where they have the Left Party and as well as the Third Way? Is it helping them that they're together? Because it seems that Law and Justice is just on their own. They don't have any allies in the parliament, and here they have Civic Platform has two other parties that are combined.
I think for sure, and we can see that in the local governments when we're actually civil coalitions with their partners from the Third Way and the Left. They govern in more regions than they did before. Now we have 10 regions that are governed by this coalition, and I think that also it helps the people who are voting. They can choose which party they want to vote for, but then the three parties work with each other, so that's for sure a lot easier for a Civic Coalition, the Left and the Third Way, compared to Law and Justice.
It just seems that they're voting for Civic Coalition, period, right? It doesn't matter where they're from.
Right. Leslie, I'd like to ask you about, were there any more surprises for you apart from the one you described before? Because, in some places, people that many wouldn't count on made it to the second round and finally won the vote. I'm also talking about the representative of... What's the name of the party? Confederacja?
Confederation.
Yes, Confederation.
Yeah, that's a surprise for sure. I also want to talk about Zakopane, where after 10 years, there is a candidate from, not from Law and Justice Party elected. Łukasz Filipowicz won with Agnieszka Nowak-Gąsienica, who was a candidate from PiS. And PiS was governing in Zakopane for 10 years, and now we have a new president. I think it's also kind of surprising.
Mm-hmm. It is, and good luck to all of the new elected mayors.
Absolutely.
Hopefully they will do a good job. Ma'am, thank you very much for joining us and breaking this down for us.
Thank you.